something else I just want to kind of talk about for a minute or two, or anything else, something to keep in mind, is how important it is to listen to your own self-intuition, etc. and so forth, when you are consuming information, specifically about spirituality and everything, right? Because within going on my depth year for 2019, I had to really sit down and consider, was I just jumping on a train of idea that everyone else seemed all gung-ho for? Was it something that actually did work well for me? Was it something that was a natural lead up from where I was going with my journey spiritually, with things, you know, where I kind of wanted my life to go? Was it advantageous for me to try in the current moment, or was it putting too much on my plate with it, putting another challenge on myself when there are other major changes happening in my life? And I had all these really deep considerations, because I don't ever want to just be mindlessly consuming something and then applying things to my life because, well, this person is doing it, so I should do it. That's not a good enough of a reason for me to try something or to add that on to my already heaping plate of things to do and try and improve, right? And for the depth year 2019, I realized for me it was a very natural progression. I was already playing with minimalism. I was already looking at the things that I owned. I was already trying to live in smaller spaces and hoping to downsize a lot of different things. And for me, it was almost like just like the last little piece of terminology puzzle, a way of looking at my life that finally clicked well for me, because minimalism didn't quite fit and other things didn't quite fit. But for me, the idea of a depth year and the concept and how adaptable it was to my own life, my own circumstances, and all of that really worked extremely well. Just because I'm doing a depth year, and just because a lot of other people are doing depth years, and just because I talk about something ever on my YouTube channel, is never a flat out endorsement that you should do it. And I just want to make that so clear, because each thing that someone suggests, each piece of media that you consume, it's always smart of you to check in with yourself and see if it works for you. I do this for me all the time. I have to make sure that I'm not just jumping on a bandwagon, that I'm not just going in with something because it seems like a good idea at the time, not considering the rest of my circumstances of my life at the current moment, what my current mindset's at, what is my current workload, what is happening in my spiritual journey. Did I commit to something else that would directly contradict with doing this thing now? Am I totally changing direction? And sometimes changing direction because you get inspired or someone does something is great, but it's important to critically think and apply it all to your own life, right? And I hope that's something that I'm doing. There are definitely videos on this channel that involve me giving tips or me sharing some lessons that I've learned, but I really hope, and I hope I've done this, and I want to make sure I do more of this, that I've given enough disclaimers and things so that everyone understands that a lot of it is just me sharing my own experience and literally what works for me. Each tip has worked for me. Each lesson is something that I personally learned. It's something that I am currently taking on. It is a struggle that I am currently facing or have faced and have overcome, and those are the ways I've overcome it. Just because it has worked for me never means that I assume it's going to work for everybody else and that I am prescribing a dogma of any shape, sense, or sort. And mostly I think this comes up, not so much that I feel like people are taking me too literally or anything, and a lot of my subscribers are clearly, y'all think a lot. You're overthinkers a little bit like me, which is fun. And we have really great discussions and even little mini debates at times when people agree or disagree with me. But one thing that really I notice within myself, so again I'm sharing it, is just the idea that sometimes I do jump on things too quick. Sometimes I do decide that something is for me and then suddenly it very much is not, because I didn't take the full context of my life at that moment into consideration. And because someone who I just hold to a high esteem is doing a thing, suddenly I want to do a thing. And it takes me a little bit, and I still do it. I still sometimes jump a little too quick and I have to go, wait, no, after a couple of days, and go, is that something I want to do? Is that something that actually vibes well with my particular thoughts, morals, schedule? Like, there's 20,000 things that I could literally take into consideration when adding on another challenge or new way of life, a new opinion into my worldview and how I'm going to operate. So that's just something I pose to all of you. I love the depth year concept. It really does work for me because I analyzed it and saw, yeah, you know what, this fits really well. It's a natural progression for me from the journey I'm going on. And I want to continue to apply it. But that doesn't mean I'm 100% recommending it for you. Does it mean that I'm saying you shouldn't do it? You should do it. It's all up for your consideration. And every idea I pose, every question I put out into the internet ether, whether it's here, whether it's on my podcast, whether it's over on Instagram or Twitter or wherever else, almost every single thing at the end of the day comes down to, it's just my experience and just my opinion. And you should always just go in a little further and decide whether it works for you. I would just encourage that. Always reanalyze and look at every bit of information you're taking in. I don't care what the source is. I really don't. I don't care if it's the most accredited from all of the fancy titles or whatever else. Look into why someone may be saying a thing or recommending a thing, and ultimately know that at the end of the day, you have to confirm whether or not you hold that person's opinion valid and worthy of your attention. And even if you do, does it still apply to your life and where you are currently going and what you are currently exploring and experiencing? Anyway, I hope that little rambly lecture made sense in some way, shape, or form. I make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and new podcasts go up on Wednesday. And I will see y'all next time. Bye.